and welcome to yet another brand new episode of the greatest, not just the Greater Manchester Football Podcast, the greatest Manchester Football Podcast. That's sort of a big pronouncement we are making right now. I'll use an iron boot to that. Other Scottish iron metal based soft drinks are probably available. I have had the day from hell today in terms of internet connection, and to talk to me more about it, or I'll talk to him about it. It is, of course, our very own Matt Dean. Matt, how are you, fella? You all right?
Very well, yeah. If I can help you with any of your internet issues, no. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to help you with any of your specific internet issues. I'll leave them to the therapist, right? But your Wi-Fi issues. Again, no, actually, no, I can't help you with that either because I'm useless. But we can see you and we can hear you just about. So that's great news, Nick.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm not bad. My internet decided to go down at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and it was just a matter of, well, it sometimes goes down and then it's back on within half an hour, and then the hours of kind. I've had to get DVDs out and everything.
Yeah, where were they hidden?
I had to go like. I can't tell you. I can't tell you.
Right.
Pending the police investigation, I cannot tell you. So, and my missus is very upset right now because I've left her upstairs with the Toy Story box set, and Toy Story 1 is not in there. So that's not mood. It's just a terrible. It's bloody barbaric, mate. Just no free view, nothing. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna start drying washing on a mangle, I think.
Oh, if only you'd have spent more time collecting records.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's just a subtle hint that maybe you could put a record on.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Go
it's
analog,
certainly
mate.
better than any chat that I can come up with. Yeah, it's got full analog. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I've got some cassettes upstairs as well.
Dust them off.
So, what are we going to be chatting about tonight, and who are we going to be chatting with, Matthew?
Well, you see the other guy below us on the screen. That's Tom.
Hello. How are we?
His full name is Tom Oldham, aren't we? Which is unusual. Yeah. I think, is it Dutch? Is it Tom?
Yeah. It's like one of those double barrel named, something like that.
Yeah. Well, you sound quite exotic because obviously you're from 7 miles down road in Rochdale.
Well, of course, down road.
Down road. How are you doing? All right.
Yeah, myself, life's good, everything and all that malarkey. But Rochdale just go from bad to worse at the moment. But there you go.
Because we put so much, I mean, it's obvious to the handful of people watching and listening how much effort we put in to make this the greatest Manchester Football Podcast compared to all the others. And this afternoon, as we was kind of like thinking, oh yeah, we've got to do a show tonight, haven't we? What should we do it about? Knowing full well that you were coming on, Tom, we did think that it would be, and not nice is the wrong word. It's not going to be nice for you, and it's not really nice for us either. But, we've got you on, Rochdale, me, Oldham, Nick, Stockport, to talk about the similarities of past, present, and potentially future of these three clubs, because your club has started the season really, really poorly. I said in the notes, the show notes, that you've started like we do, or we've been doing in recent times, and then you had the hostile takeover business.
Yeah.
So it all seems to have gone a bit wrong since then, doesn't it, with Dale? So you're the man to tell us what the hell is going on. And the reason this show is called BOTCHDALE, ? Is because there was always that thing about Rochdale, wasn't there? That it's just a well-run club, like running within its own means. Just it's not particularly ambitious, but it's not in any trouble either. And somewhere along the line, has it been botched? That's the question for this evening.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to go back a little bit. To be fair, it's not just much the past season, the past 2 seasons. You go back to the final season we were in League One, which was now 3 seasons ago. COVID obviously had a massive impact on our playing squad and what we could afford to do in our budget. Behind the scenes, the board were well at work at dismantling this football club, or trying their best to do it. The season carried on. Form wasn't great. Obviously, we ended up getting relegated. We had all this fuss and palaver about a takeover coming in, this consortium called Morton House, which was later to found out to just be a botched, a limited company that nobody really knew anything about. People were working for it that had, no real background. The guy who actually fronts the business works at Morrison's. He's a nobody. He's a nobody. So all the people that actually were trying to get in the club, I don't know if you've heard of Matt Southall, who was in business with taking over Charlton and all their hostile takeover business. So he's not a popular figure. He's involved with it. Andy Curran, who was involved with Swindon and their demise literally the season before as well, whilst we were starting our troubles.
So it's this kind of group of people that circle football clubs, isn't it? Looking for looking for weaknesses, leeches. Aren't they? Looking for the weakest football club that they can prey on. It's quite sickening, really.
It came from our old, I'm going to butcher the thing, I'm sure it was chairman, it's been a while now, but it was a man called David Bottomley, and it became apparent over time that he was just trying to sell the assets of the club off, because I think he wanted us to end up in the non-league where, the constraints aren't as fine, we go out of business, you can knock the ground down, and then we can do as and what they wanted with it. Obviously, the Rochdale Trust, who do a fantastic job, stepped in when they saw the warning signs, things started to get a bit tetchy, and saw the danger, and acted quickly, because we knew if we didn't act quickly, we wouldn't have a football club. It was. I mean, the comments of Andy Curran, he actually came out in one of his messages, which actually got him suspended by the EFL. He said, "If this Rochdale board, the bunch of Nancy boys, want a fight, we'll settle it outside." This is a guy trying to buy a football club off us with these apparent funds and whatnot. Luckily, obviously, it's not happened. We've come out of the other side of it. We've managed to pretty much fight off the hostile takeover. Most of these members have now left Morton House. I think it's left with like 2 people fronting it that have no financial power. Like I say, it's a guy working in Morrison's, and I think
just on that point, can you prove that it's not possible to collect enough pound coins left in trolleys over enough time to successfully run a football club?
Hey, who knows?
You just point that out there.
Yeah,
maybe it's. I mean, you say maybe there's some kind of a racket. I mean, how many Morrisons are there, Nick? You've done the research, haven't you? You know how many Morrisons there are.
I'm a former Morrisons employee.
There you go.
I would say there are upwards. There's upwards of 11 Morrisons in the country.
11.
So.
Anywhere upwards of 11 in the country. So if you imagine all those car parks with abandoned trolleys with the odd pound coin in, maybe just saying if he's organised and he's got gangs around the place, maybe that's where. So maybe don't discredit the Morrisons thing, but that's a long shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
That's a long shot.
Yeah, like I say, the people that are left that are actually fronting the company now have no well, not that the ones that actually did, it was all a front anyway. They didn't actually have any money, but when they were asked to show proof of funds, they wouldn't do it and they couldn't do it. Yeah. So that's where the EFL stepped in and said, did the fit and proper test and was like, no, this isn't going any further. So we've successfully repelled the takeover on that front. This is all going on whilst this is our final season in League. Well, what was to be our final season in League One at the time. Club was in disarray. Fans were arguing about all sorts. We couldn't go to games. It was a very hectic time. We nearly stayed up, but we didn't do enough. Then relegated. Lose your best players, needed the money. Obviously, all this was going on in the background, so we didn't know what was going on. Then we managed to eject David Bottomley and a few members of the board that were trying to facilitate this takeover. Got a brand new board in, new chairman, Simon Gage, brilliant guy, really nice, down to earth. Used to work for British Airways. He's a really nice guy. He's actually a Southerner, but he comes and watch Rochdale games for years. Now supports them. Took the club over, brought his own board in, and people that affiliate with the club as well. And then on the playing side of things, that summer was a weird one. We started pre-season with a manager, Brian Barry Murphy. We started building into pre-season, a few players signing contracts here and there. Looks like we were going to give him a chance again because the the general consensus was probably about 50-50 split as to whether they wanted him to stay in the job. But I think we gave him the benefit of the doubt and said, no, let him build here. We'll go again. And try and have a good go at it. Yeah, as I say, players got signed out to contracts, and then just out of the blue, he just said, I think he went to the board and said, I want to leave. Will you pay me out of my contract? The board went, no, we want you to stay. We trust you. You're the man. Take us forward again. You go and do it. Then I think he came back in the day after and just handed in his notice, basically. Mutual consent, ripped his contract up, left. So we're already like midway into pre-season here. No real squad. We just literally just signed players down that were out of contracts from the previous season. Then we had to start the mass chase around to find a manager. Robbie Stockdale came in. Little did we know at the time we were actually under a transfer embargo because of what was going on in the background with the club. So he had to put a botch squad together very, very quickly, loan players and, just bits and bobs here and there, but no real, star players, I'd call it that. Mm-hmm. Started the season somewhat all right last season. We were doing okay. We had a relatively okay start, nice little cup run. And then just held the beliefs. It was actually weirdly the Oldham game last season. That's where it all started to go wrong. I think we'd come off the back of the Burnley game in the cup where we took the lead and then got battered. But we all kind of felt like on a real high, like this squad can do something. Came to play you at home. Thought this will be an absolute cakewalk. We're going to batter them. Didn't happen. Keeler Dunn slaps it in the top corner from one side of the box, and it all just kind of fell apart. We couldn't find any rhythm again from there. Sold our main striker in the January transfer window. Aaron Morley went off to Bolton. Key players in the squad tried to replace him with players that at the time looked like they made an impact, and it wasn't too severe. But our form was really poor. Really poor for the second half of the season, and pretty much after that Oldham game, really very inconsistent. Got a few results here and there, and then running into March, April time, it really started to go downhill. Really poor performances, not getting the results. Really just nothing displays basically. You could see that we were starting to look over our shoulder, and it was looking like we were going to get dragged into it. And we came up to the Carlisle game at home. We played it at the end of, I think it was either the end of March, early April. And there was no pre-match presser or anything from Robbie Stockdale on the YouTube like we always do. It was just a short, sweet, staple, quote on the website. Managed to get the result on the day, and we managed to get a few more results from that point just to steer us away from trouble. But as I say, the football's been terrible. Players look like they've not built, they haven't really understood what was asked of them. Couldn't really articulate it on the pitch properly, but got through the season unscathed. Never really looked in any serious danger, but equally never really looked like pulling up any trees. Went into the summer. There was rumours that our manager was looking at the Hartlepool job, which I think was the case, but I don't think he decided to take it. Pre-season, I think a lot of people, I think the consensus at the time was probably a 50-50 split as to whether people wanted Robbie to stay on. As I say, we hadn't really seen anything exciting in the previous season, and a lot of people couldn't really identify what our style of play was. But no, the board backed him, gave him an increased budget going into this season. Started the season, and I honestly, I couldn't tell you what our performances have been, because they've just been. I couldn't even tell you what it is, because it doesn't even look like football. I think players are so low on confidence. The players that we've recruited of experience, I felt they were good quality players, but they don't seem to be showing anything. Obviously, we brought back Henderson, cult hero at Rochdale. We were all having a laughing joke, thinking he'd be because he's 4 goals away from breaking the all-time record at Rochdale. We were all having a laughing joke, thinking he'd be there by now. He's not even had a sniff at goal. Brought in Tiamani Diaguara from Morecambe. Solid player, fans' favourite. I think he got voted player of the season there. Ebanks Landell, solid centre half elsewhere. And a whole host of other names that have got reputable reputations, and a couple of young loan players in. Just not clicked on the pitch. The football's been dour to watch, too apprehensive, too negative. I watched the game the other week against Stevenage on iFollow, and I couldn't tell you what we were doing for the first 45 minutes of that game. It was just literally the ball comes to the back line, we're just going to smack it up the pitch, back and forth, back and forth. No consistency. And I think it was the only decision that could be made. He had to go in the end. But we've kind of left ourselves in a really, really bad situation now. The window is still open, but whoever comes in, obviously we sacked Robbie Stockdale. Whoever comes in now has probably got no wiggle room to do anything, to sign anybody, to implement his own stamp on the team. And I think it's going to be a real struggle, because I don't think many clubs want to touch us. And as much as I don't want to bash the board, because they have done a wonderful job in keeping us a club, I feel that the inexperience throughout the board of working at a football club may have just cost us, our league status now. Because I know it sounds dramatic, we're only 5 games in, but I could honestly not tell you. I don't think this squad's got anything. I think it's got nothing.
I mean, obviously, as you're talking there, it's you've done a very good job of doing a quick fire kind of assessment of the whole thing. But there's key things that stick out: transfer embargo, the types of people that are involved that really shouldn't be involved. Taking over a club, just the wrong kind of people, the wrong kind of energy,
absolutely,
kind of chaos in the background. And it all having a knock-on effect ultimately on the pitch. And then last season, with us, it was obvious early on that we were going to go. We lost our first 5 games or something like that, same as Rochdale have done this season. And it's like, it's not signed, sealed, and delivered by a long, long way, but the warning signs are there, aren't they? And I
think it's a panic for Rochdale fans, because we've never had this bad of a start to a season ever, and I think that's what really panics people now. And I think it's just the impending doom of it, because all right, Oldham, have got a much bigger fan base, I will not deny it, than Rochdale. And I think if we were to end up in that situation and we do get to go down, I do worry for the state of the club. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, so where's it all gone wrong? But are we dealing now with is this the legacy of what happened with the takeover and how unsettling that was with, in terms of the new people that have left, the people that came in, the sort of change? It must be, surely, because we look at the clubs that came down last season into the National League, Oldham and Scunthorpe, both in disarray off the pitch. Yeah. I think to be in that situation, that whichever clubs get relegated from the Football League have been in a series of decline over time, which means they eventually manifest themselves in the bottom 2 of the division. Yeah, they're the 2 crackpots out of the whole Football League, aren't they? Basically, so
isn't it?
It's what? It's what?
Banter years. That's what we call it, the banter years.
The banter years, yeah, exactly. So you're smack bang now, it seems, in the middle of the banter years, and is that the issue then? Is it a knock-on effect from the disruption that was caused a few seasons ago with the takeover?
I think, obviously that's a massive influencing factor, and I think if the board could have just solely focused on the football side of things, it might have been different. But obviously we've had to repel this hostile takeover. That's took a lot of time off people's hands, and it's like I say, it's the raw unexperience of our board. I'm not bad-mouthing them for that, but it's their first stint in doing a position within football for most of them, and probably on the basis of looking back at last season and how it went. You look at the 4 clubs that came, the 3 clubs that came down with us last season, came down to League 2 last season. Bristol Rovers have gone straight back up. Northampton were in the playoffs, and who were the other one? Swindon had a good season, and we just fell by the wayside. Obviously, that's by the by, we had stuff going on in the background that the other clubs didn't. But even to that standard,
well, Swindon did. To be fair,
well, yeah, exactly.
But they also had sort of like somebody working away in the background, ready to take over the club, who had prepared and was ready to go, kind of thing, wasn't it? Did the whole issue with the attempted takeover at Dale, cost the club a lot of money in any way, or was it more just the sort of the effort that it took to repel it?
Well, I think probably a bit of both. It was such a long-standing thing that we started the season and it felt like it was almost done with, and that we dealt with it. But it's pretty much raged on for the whole of last season. Just as you kind of thought it was done, something else would kind of crop up. or the people at Morton House would put something in against us, and then it'd be like, right, we're going back to court. So you're getting money together for legal proceedings.
Yeah.
The Rochdale Trust did a great job, of doing a whip round at match days to save money for the legal get money for the legal case, which people are obviously well in the rights willing to donate to. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I think it's that not being able to focus on the football side of things and thinking things through. Like Robbie of Stockdale, he's a nice guy enough, and he's a lovely, and he comes across quite well, and he's probably and he said all the things that Brian didn't say, but on the pitch, it's just not clicked. And I think that decision should have been made in the summer for someone else to come in. But instead, the situation has been, you've give this guy a whole budget to work on, and recruitment hasn't worked.
What kind of a budget? Has it been a decent one, or has it been a
I can't really compare
one?
I don't know, because last season I felt we did okay with what we spent. All we know from what the club said is that it was an increased budget compared to last season. So to me, that says it's a better budget. And I think on paper, if you look at the players we've signed, it's a better budget. But has that transpired to be? Probably, well, definitely not.
Right. Well, Rob here has suggested that I tried to cheer you up, but I mean, Nick, you maybe you can have a go, mate, because I'm at a loss. I think maybe because in my mind, what's happening with Dale and is similar to what happened with Oldham, where we are now in the National League and we're bracing ourselves, we're knuckling down for a season in it, or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. Nick, you've done all that. You've done your 12 years for armed robbery, and you've got back out there now. I mean, you're obviously making an effort to come straight back down again, but maybe you can cheer Tom up because you've been through and the other side of it.
Go on. Sorry, go on.
If I'm kind of being brought in to cheer you up here, I mean, we spent 6 years in regional football, so I don't think I'm the man for that job. I'm still coming to terms with being back in the league. We've had a poor start to the season, and I'm not arsed. We're back in the league. We're solvent, and we've got a rich owner. I'm just like, yeah, I'm still
exactly, but. Exactly. So that's if that's not light at the end of the tunnel, I don't know, or something to hope for, or just proof that everything goes in cycles, or there is a football god, or however you want to say it. You know what I mean?
Several times we think we've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and then it's been another bloody train. You know what I mean? It kind of just goes round. Then, but you do get to a stage, yeah. I mean, what I will say, and I'm sure Matt will agree, the National League in particular is a very unforgiving mistress if you've not got your stuff together off the pitch. It's absolutely horrible. Like you'll just get chewed up and spat out if you've not got things sorted. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, because our problem is, and this is what I'll bring this back to. I don't want to just not talk about Oldham, but I want to relate it to Rochdale. Is we've now got the new people come in, taking over. And they're discovering just how poorly the club is set up, how poor the infrastructure is, what's missing. It's easier to quickly list what there is than what's missing, because everything's missing. So there's a lot of work that they've got to do to try and make this club function. So obviously as a result of many years of mismanagement, that's why I think it could take time. At Rochdale, is it that serious, or are things still managed, infrastructure-wise and systems-wise and personnel-wise? Is it still quite stable, or is there a lot of work to do?
I mean, the turnover of the books, from what Simon was saying, they're not in the public view yet from last season. But he said that he did say that we were in a financially stable place now. Obviously, the budget was less last season. It's been improved this season. But yeah, it's a very tough one to negate. It's uncharted water for me. We've been a football league club all our lives. We've never dropped past further than that. And the National League, like you say, it's an unforgiving place. I can see that on evidence, and it just feels like a place to me that if we were to drop down there, it's somewhere that we'd never get out of. or we'd go further, or even worst case scenario, we might not even have a club at the end of it all. As I say, we don't draw the crowds. We don't draw the crowds at all, and we are a fan-owned club, which is, I get it. It's a great. I think it's a good idea, but we don't draw the crowds to be successful as a fan-owned club. I'd love to have an owner like Stockport, if I'm really honest. That'd be absolutely fantastic. But there's not many of them people out there that are honest, people.
What kind of discussions are you having then amongst yourselves when it comes to how Rochdale evolves? Because I mean, that's one of the things that I'm talking about a lot with the trust and with the fans groups and all that kind of things. Have to, it's like Alan Partridge, have to evolve, not revolve. What did he say? I revolve, I don't evolve. But things have to evolve, don't they? Like, you can't just and I think this is what happens when a lot of clubs start to fall, and it's because they stay still, they stay the same for too long. Like, things have to change, they have to evolve. You have to have people that are thinking moves ahead all the time. So for Rochdale, it's done Rochdale good, for want of better English, to have this model for such a long time. It's sustained the club. It's existed at a level. It got promoted finally into League One. That period's over for a while now. How does it change, evolve, grow into something else?
It's a tough one to answer, to be fair. I'd probably break it down into three things. First and foremost, we've got to try our absolute hardest this season to make ourselves safe. First and foremost, I think we need to have more football-related people on the board. As I say, these people are all new to the positions, and they aren't solely football people. Yes, some of them have played like semi-professional football before in the past, but they're not. This is the first gig. I think you need someone in there with a bit of experience. I mean, and for me, this is my final point on it, and this is I probably won't get a lot of backing on this. But like you say, football's changing. The dynamic of football is changing. I was saying on my own podcast the other week that football is becoming so much more money orientated. It is, and I know people don't want to seem like that. And I'm not saying we have some God-given right to win every week and have the best playing squad there is. But we need to look at sourcing other investment, because being fan owned, it's great, but we've tried every initiative to get fans through the door, and it just doesn't work for us. We give out tickets in the local community, even when we're playing well. When we've been playing well and at the heights of League One and looking at the playoffs, we've only drawn crowds of max 3,000, maybe a little bit more. Some people come out for cup ties and stuff, but I don't know what it is. It's honestly like a question that we always have. All my friends, everybody I go with, how do you get people to come and watch Rochdale? Because it just seems to be something that you can't.
Well, maybe that's the wrong question then, isn't it? Maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's about how Rochdale can generate revenue in other ways as a business. Because if you're limited, it's like you said, what your crowds are going to be. I don't know how much it went up when you got into League One, but you've got a good idea, you've got a fan base, and that's it. You're in exactly the same situation as us and Stockport are, insofar as you've got United and City right on the doorstep. That's always a massive challenge. And I mean, I always like going watching football at Scotland. It's a nice little stadium, it's a tidy little ground. You can get a good atmosphere in there, especially when Oldham are there, obviously. But like, I always think it's a tidy little stadium. It's a good little place to go and watch football. So it's not really about that, I don't think. I think it's about evolving as a business, isn't it? And looking at what other opportunities there are to generate revenue and branch out maybe into other areas, so that down the line there is more revenue coming in to improve the playing squad. Because at the end of the day, if Rochdale start climbing and winning, the more they win, people will go.
In the height of all this going on in the relegation season, we had I forget the names, I'm terrible, but it was an American consortium that wanted to kind of moneyball the club, but obviously with everything that was going on, it never ended up happening. They were Dan Altman, that was his name. and he wanted to buy the club, and he wanted to, get this in place, but buy a stake in the club. And he had all these ideas about all this tech he was going to use and improve the infrastructure of the club. But obviously, all this was going on behind the scenes with the club and the takeover and that business. And eventually, they pulled out of it. But the stance of Rochdale is, being fan owned, and that's where I don't know if we're going to be willing to accept some big buyout, or I don't think the fans would be willing to as a whole. You talk about sponsorship deals and stuff, and I think we do a lot in that regard to get deals through, and advertisement and whatnot to get that revenue in. But ultimately, unless we find a way to generate, like you say, money and a good quantity of it, it's going to be a hard feat to improve the whole infrastructure of the club. The playing budget, the stadium. We've done quite a bit with the infrastructure recently, but that was through a windfall of a super fan who left a lot of money in his will.
Can you explain a little bit how the fan ownership at Rochdale works, insofar as like who owns what and what influence they have in how the club performs and how it's run?
Oh God, that's a question for me, isn't it? Oh God. So yeah, it's obviously primarily run by the board. We do have some members of the board who are members of the trust. The share ownership is between mainly them. Some fans do have a stake in the club, but it's not to a degree that I think they would be in a position to run it themselves solely. It is through the businesses of the people on the board. Yeah, that's probably not my most clued up area, but so that's my basic understanding of it.
Okay, so it's not kind of like fan owned and managed in a kind of like a mass way, as in like, lots of consultation with fans and lots of fan representation. It's kind of like self-managed by a smaller group of fans. Is that more accurate?
The trust are probably the big bit of the people that deal with most of it. But that's, you can, as a Rochdale fan, you can pay £5 to join the trust if you wish to, and you can have your say. You hear from all the latest newsletters each month and the questions being posed to the board and whatnot. Yeah. But as I say, probably the majority of the stakes are with the people within the board. Yeah.
Going back to what you said about having people basically running the club who it's their first gig in football and they don't have experience. Something I noticed today, I was watching the first 2 episodes of the new Wrexham documentary this afternoon. Maybe that's what made my internet cut out. Maybe Virgin Media kind of detected that I was a Stockport County fan watching a Wrexham thing and thought, right, that's it. You don't deserve the internet, mate. But one of the first things that struck me was, obviously, when Reynolds and McElhenney took over, their representative was Humphrey Carr, who is a comedian and comedy writer for It's Always Sunny. So he had no experience. And the first thing they did was bring in a bloke who used to be the CEO at Bradford and Leeds, and he was head of the Football League as well. Yeah. And it's just, you see it so many times that these clubs are just too proud almost to get someone in who can come in and tell them, look, you're doing this wrong. And it's infuriating.
There is a difference there though, Nick. How much did they pay this man to come in and do that?
Oh, but yeah, but there are people out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be. It's like I say. Then, I think we do need football people within the club at board level. We do. I think it's probably the raw experience which is costing us at the moment. So,
the thing is, what might be happening now. This is certainly not going to fall into the cheer Tom up, Matt category, but.
I'm having a good laugh here, boys.
So, sometimes you do need. It's like Florence says. It's always darkest before the dawn. You know what I mean? Like it's got to get dark. Got to get darker before it can get lighter. And maybe you with Rochdale now, it's got to like Stockport did. Stockport. You must have woke up every morning and be checking, like, have we gone completely bust yet or what? Like, what's the story? Like, when you're in National League North and stuff. It was just, it must have just been on the verge. You felt like it was on the verge all the time. To be where you are now and have the optimism and all the rest of it is amazing. But there was a journey that had to be taken to get to that point. And it feels to me a bit like, same with Oldham, Rochdale now possibly are on that where they're going to have to reset, and the people, the fans, the trust are going to have a really proper look at it and say, right, how do we do this differently? We've got to do something different here. And like you say, money's always been massive in football. It's just that in the past it used to be millionaires who owned mills and scrap metal place, whatever, like own football clubs. Now we've got more billionaires and all that kind of stuff, and super rich people, and they're coming in and doing it, and everything's. But we've kind of hit that point now where we've come out of sort of, with the start of the Premier League. You went to watch football in the late 80s, early 90s at grounds like Ewood Park and the Victoria Ground in Stoke. They were just completely decrepit. It was the end of the Victorian era of football, wasn't it? And then when was the 30th anniversary of the Premier League? It was like this week. So we've just had 30 years. We've just had, which is kind of like a generation of the Premier League. So now football is like completed an evolution at the top level, but it's not completed an evolution at a lower level, and that's kind of happening now. I think with all this, people now can't afford to invest in football at the higher level because it's now the super rich that are involved. So they're coming in at the lower end and they're buying clubs like Salford City and Crawley Town and Morecambe and Forest Green Rovers and all this, and doing things with those clubs. Talented people with money and ideas and creativity. And then clubs that have it's like who said that about if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. Ian here. So the clubs that were just staying still have now found themselves going backwards behind the lights and getting replaced in the Football League by Crawley and Morecambe and Forest Green and all that kind of Salford. And that's the problem. That's where we're at.
And just touching on that, like I say, Crawley, for example, they've been bought out by it's like a Bitcoin type model, isn't it?
Yeah,
something along the lines of that.
Wag Me United or something like that.
That's it. They're the ones. I just don't think Rochdale fans would accept that. I just think they'd be so. No, that's not something that Rochdale fans would delve into and would want. I mean,
that's just one model, though, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
We've had loads of discussions in our WhatsApp group about this on one of our main sort of like OASF, the Trust and Push the Boundary and all that podcast about Crawley and about NFTs and about cryptocurrency and about the way that they're doing things. And they've got aspirations to take Crawley into the Premier League, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous. Andy on our podcast is adamant that this is all going to go completely tits up and they're just going to, end up disappearing at some point and leave Crawley, up the Swanee. So we'll see, won't we? But I think the crucial point there is it has to fit, doesn't it? Whatever comes in, whatever model your club takes on has to fit the culture, the history, the town, the people. You can't just shoehorn something in and say, "Oh, this will work. This will work." When the fans, the customers are going, "This is not us, mate. This is not us."
Yeah, the model's got to fit the environment 100%. It has to.
That's why I think that when the fans themselves have to define that model. Because you are the club, and we've had this at Oldham. We are the club.
Yeah, you're the lifeblood.
If we can see that the owner is killing our club, we have the power to make him realise that he needs to sell by not going and starving him of money. We did that, and it worked, and then it created an opportunity for people to come into the club. Now we have a new challenge with those people at our club because we have to work with them. And they have to listen to us and accept that we're part of the journey going forward. So these things have to fit, and it's going to be interesting to work with new owners in that respect. And I always find it really uncomfortable when we say our owners. I don't like being owned. It doesn't sit right with me. Do you know what I mean? They are custodians, but I think even with the language and stuff like that. Because there's been issues about who owns the North Stand at Boundary Park. And it's like, there's a certain group of people saying, well, it's Oldham Athletic who own it. And it's like, well, who's Oldham Athletic? And legally, it's whoever owns Oldham Athletic. So it's the private companies, in this case of the Rothwell family, that own Oldham Athletic, that own the land and all that kind of stuff. So Oldham Athletic is never really owned by Oldham Athletic. The only way that you can do that is by the town and the fans owning the land and the stadium. And then you've got like, this is what Oldham Athletic is, and it can't be anything else. The same for Rochdale, same for Stockport, same. And then attracting investment around that and having a football stadium which is able to generate revenue, be self-sustainable. There's got to be something in there that Oldham can take forward in the long term, and maybe even Rochdale as well. Is there much scope for redevelopment of Spotland?
Probably, but if the money is there, I mean,
is there room to put in facilities, conferencing, all that kind of stuff in the footprint?
There's probably not a lot of wiggle room in that area, but you probably could do, things here and there. There has been things done over the past, as I say, over the past year or so, but that was just purely down to money that was left in a will by a superfan. It's a tough one moving forward. Chris Dunphy was our owner for a long time, and I think he was a very, very firm fan favourite. And I think when we were at the height of League One, he tried to push the playing budget a bit further than we normally would, and I think it spectacularly backfired. That was the season we, stayed up on the final day, and you went down. Dunphy left. David Bottomley came in. I believe he has a share in Toys R Us, or something along those lines.
Didn't they go bust?
Obviously. Exactly. There you go. Exactly. That went wrong. And obviously he was, trying to sell the club for a hostile takeover to someone who was just going to asset strip us. And this ownership's just kind of getting on their feet now. Probably not, got a load of investment behind them, but they're trying to do the best with what they've got.
Yeah, so I imagine any day now we'll be hearing of a takeover from the owners of Cineworld. I imagine the next one to look forward to.
Yeah, apparently we're getting sponsored by Blockbuster next season, which is going to be pretty good. So yeah, so Caroline Burt has said that being in the shadow of City United used to be a hindrance. As the Premier League gets more distant, it's becoming an advantage.
That's the way County have been marked. I mean, Caroline's a fan of our show as well. Caroline's a massive County fan, and also like yourself, Caroline's heavily involved in the fan representation side of things, Matt. That's kind of how County are trying to market themselves now. Not
is that why you've got loads of people turning up in United shirts and City shirts, Nick? Happened again the other night, didn't it? Happened again the other night. The King.
But no one's saying anything. We're all just moaning on social media about it, and no one's giving them a good filling in. It's really weird.
Well, like I said in the thing, you need to very least start taking permanent markers with you and start drawing on the shirts.
Oh, we had it on the Sandy Lane on the Tuesday night game against Burton. I had a guy stuck behind me in a City top, and I thought, "What are you doing?" I'd never ever turn up in a different kit.
There was a guy turned up at Boundary Park for the Dorking game on that first game when we had the big crowd in, and he had a City shirt on. I noticed him, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to start causing any trouble because I'm not that kind of guy. But then, like 5 minutes later, I saw him, he had his shirt turned inside out. So I don't know, like, if someone had said something to him, or just gonna, but it's just out of respect in it. You wouldn't go to another club in your colours out of respect. You would, if you're talking to someone and they say, "Oh, I'm an Oldham fan," and you're here for the game. No one's going to be bothered about that. But you get chatting away. But if you're there and you're wearing your Oldham shirt in middle of Ormond at Rochdale while you're playing Stevenage,
that won't be good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's respect, isn't it? It's about showing some respect.
No, exactly.
I went to a Liam Gallagher gig once and saw someone in a Blur t-shirt. That was weird. It's just really odd. It's like, what's going on here? But with football, it's even worse, obviously, because you care more, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, Caroline's point though is valid because there's only so many people can get in. Well, I mean, not that City fill it every week, but there's only so many people that can get into these grounds, and the price of the football and everything else. So that's why football at our level needs to be accessible, needs to be affordable, needs to be welcoming, but there needs to be a good match day experience when people get there. What's it like at Dale? I mean, obviously, apart from when we come, because then it's amazing. But what's it like the rest of the
time? Listen, the football on display at the moment's nothing to go by, so you lose all interest there straight away. They have started a fan zone happy hour now, just this season, which is a nice little touch. I think it's something that's really good, and it gets people up to the ground a bit sooner. People are enjoying that. There's under the Pearl Street stand, we've got Desmond's Den, which has got like PlayStation set up for the kids. It's like a little creche area, so that's a nice little touch that's been developed recently. You've got the Ratcliffe Arms, which is attached to the ground, so people can go for a drink as well. Obviously, apart from that, there's not always a lot on. We don't really have any like halftime. We used to have halftime challenges and things like that to watch, but we don't even have that anymore. That doesn't really seem to happen. Yeah, I used to love it when you spin around on the halfway line 10 times and then see if you can score
after 8 pints.
Brilliant. Yeah, solid. But like I say, ultimately at the moment the football's dour. And I kind of argue the point, about saying, is it an advantage? It might be for Oldham and Stockport yourself, but I feel like there's just a lot of apathy in Rochdale. And a lot of people would just rather be armchair supporters and sit and watch City and United at home than come and watch Rochdale.
It's you're not saying anything that can't be related to Oldham or County, because we've obviously both been through absolute shocking football.
Yeah.
Chronic atmospheres. It's we're up north, so it's cold, it's wet. It's kind of like that transition from that Victorian era into a new era where people want different things. Like football was just something to do. People used to work 5.5 days a week, didn't they? Go and work on a Saturday morning, then they'd go to the football in the afternoon. It was tuppence to get in or whatever. Beer was 3p a pint, or whatever. That's what people did. They went to the match, they drank, went to the pub. There was not really anything else to do. Church on Sunday, whatever. That was society was what it was. If society has evolved and changed, or devolved and changed, depending on which way you look at it. And now none of us want cheerleaders, fireworks. Well, actually, I'm describing the Premier League, aren't I? But there's like a balance, isn't there, between like what does it mean, that match day experience? It's not like Americanizing it by any stretch of the imagination. It's having a board and a club that has enough imagination to think of what's going to work in our town and for our club. What do our fans need? Asking the fans, first of all, what do you want? Because that's a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just touching back a little bit to what you said there about pricing and stuff, cost of living. I don't think Rochdale are horrifically priced. I mean, if you just turn up on the day, they try their best to put schemes in place to get people through the door. We have a system called a Your Card that you can buy, which is £25, which is what I've got personally. I have been a season ticket holder for years, but I've taken a little bit more of a backseat this season. But yeah, so that gives you like discounted admission to the games. So I pay like 15 quid to go in the Sandy Lane, which isn't too badly priced, but the away tickets are like 25 quid. If you're going to go in the main stand, you're looking at the upwards of some prices are nearly £30. And you think about the baseline of Rochdale and what the expected average wage would be in Rochdale. It all kind of ties in, but then we do really good stuff. I remember a few years ago when we just had a really good season in League One, we put a scheme together that for every so many thousand tickets we sold, the season ticket price would get cheaper and cheaper. We did okay on that. We didn't get it to like the higher echelons of it, but we did manage to knock it down a little bit. And we actually have the cheapest season ticket in I think it's League One and League Two this season. And in the Sandy Lane, it's 150 quid for a season ticket. That's it. But we still only average about just over 2,300 season tickets. I think that's what we got to.
What happened to membership? Because you just described a membership scheme there. I remember Latics, we used to have members. You like you say, you pay for your membership and then you get discounted rates throughout the season. Like, so it was full price tickets. Back in the day, it was like, whatever, £12.50 and £10 for members or whatever. And that just seems to have gone. And I seem to recall that there was some kind of ruling that came in that said that it wasn't allowed to happen or something like that. I don't know if anyone can remember that.
Still very much a thing at the bigger clubs. I know Premier League clubs have it, but there's no discounts involved with it. All it gives you is a chance to get a ticket for big games.
Isn't
That's
it?
When you go to open sale. That's literally all it is. And if you've got kids on your membership, then they might get a chance to go to an open training session or something, or meet a couple of players. But that's it now. It's very much gone now. Yeah.
Don't talk about opening training sessions. We've just cancelled ours.
Surely
you turned up with your boots.
Hey, good on. Maybe I can do a job.
Yeah. So listen, we've got 10 minutes left. So I think we've covered like the situation at Rochdale and how you feel about it, and it's obviously concerning because if they do go down, it's the same old. It's going to be a massive challenge to get back up again.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Hand on heart, how are you going to get on this season?
Until the manager's in, I couldn't give you a straight answer because at the moment Jim McNulty is taking over as an interim manager and he's trying, but these players are flawed at the moment and I don't think they've got any belief. You know, we're playing Crawley on the weekend, massive already. That's already a 6-pointer. They've got 1 point on the board. It does worry me because they've just beat Fulham. They beat Fulham on Tuesday night, but there you go. We got absolutely annihilated by Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know because the names that I'm hearing through what I know, they're not the most inspiring names. So I'd have to see who we get through the door. But if I'm really being honest, I think we're going to go down. And I can't believe I'm saying that because it's never happened before, but I think it's going to happen.
Well, you're in that position because we had it last season when obviously Sheridan came back, which was great, but we were rock bottom of the league. And you start going like people saying, "Oh, I don't know about him. I don't know about." It's like, well, what do you expect? You're bottom of the league. You're bottom of the football league. The names that are banded about are not going to be.
Well, yeah, they're not inspiring names.
The best names in football, are they? They're going to be like the 92nd choice at least of any, other football club. So you're struggling.
From what I know, and these are just rumours at the moment, nothing's been confirmed, is from what I've been told, is Graham Alexander was offered the job without an interview and he's turned it down. He said no. We were looking at Dave Artell, who used to manage Crewe. He was up for the job, but apparently I think he's being advised maybe not to. And the names, John Askey at York, he was one we're looking at. Still, again, I think he's turned us down. Someone called Graham Conlon, but I don't really know a lot about him. I think he managed at Port Vale. And the Altrincham manager, Phil Parkinson's been banded around a bit. Keith obviously came up on the list, as he always will do when the Rochdale job becomes available. But he came out in a BBC interview yesterday saying that no, he's not coming back. So, like I say, until I know who's in charge and who's going to be taking over, and I need to see whether they can get a tune out of them, because the worry that I have is, like I say, there's no wiggle room really to do anything now with the club in the sense of playing squad. I feel like whoever comes in, even if they come in time before the deadline, they might be able to make one addition, maybe two at max, but they've got to work with what they've got. And by the time we get to January, I feel like we could be, cut adrift quite a bit. So, yeah.
So, on current form and current personnel, it's going to be a long, hard season.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, on the plus side, if you do come down, we're not going up.
We get the
derby, don't we?
We get the derby.
Stockport, if they don't pull the finger out, might come back down as well. That'd be nice. The three of us then.
The three
together.
amigos.
The old gang. What do you reckon, Nick?
Wait, well, I'm gonna. See, you can bring this back up in April or May, but we'll sort it out. I'm very, very confident. It's just been fine margins for us. I'm confident that we'll sort it out. That's almost after 11 years in non-league. It'd be unthinkable for us to just go straight back down. How would that rank
in terms of disappointment and of all the relegations and all the stuff you've had? How would that, do you think, feel?
I'd just have to laugh at that point. what can you do? What can you do? It's like we've got a multi-millionaire in, and we've still got you just go and have a laugh and get a Calippo, wouldn't you? Really?
And then go
What
home and
can you do?
cry. Yeah, it would be. It would be rough. It would be rough because like it's the one thing you hear from everybody. It's just the hardest league to get out of, and that's just you have to win the league, don't you, to guarantee getting out of it. It's as simple as that. So
please don't make me think about it.
You know, I mean, we're not going to win it this year. There's absolutely no chance. Yeah, I mean, go on.
Sorry, where do you honestly think Oldham will finish up? Because you got a schooling lesson off Wheelstone the other week.
They were really good. I was really impressed with Wheelstone. They played really well. We've just signed 2 lads this evening on loan. One lad from Bristol,
I've seen
Birmingham City, and one lad from Bradford. Yeah. And so hopefully they'll. But they're both defenders. Like we need midfielders. And we've got a fair few strikers on the books, but they're not the youngest, fittest, and most reliable. So we could probably do with another striker.
Is Harrison McGay still there?
He is, yeah. He's not impressing a great deal, to be honest.
No.
He's not been playing, but he played on Saturday, and he didn't impress people that I've spoke to too much. But I think if we finish about 15th, to be honest, I think 12th to 15th will probably be all right. Because the club's been in turmoil, and we just need to just get through this season and nothing with nothing catastrophic happening for a change.
It's just about stability, isn't it? Stability.
I really think it is.
Stable season.
Oldham fans have got a mindset. There is still a mindset. I don't understand it because we've been shit for years, right? And we've been getting worse and worse. But there's still a mindset of, well, we should be getting promoted out of this league. It's like, on what? Well, because we're big Oldham and we're bigger than it. Well, it's just ridiculous. It's like, well, we should be finishing at least in the top 7. Why? Players we've got are terrible. Like we not. This might be a bit harsh and so on, but they're not the best in the division. So why? I do not understand it. Like they think that because we've had a new owner and they've had like 4 weeks that, well, they should have done this, you should have done that. It's going to take a long time. Manage your expectations, sort your head out. Like, we just need to get through this season without the usual shower of shit that descends upon us at some point in a year. We just need to get through it and then start to rebuild. And because obviously the last thing we need is, well, I think the fact that these guys are coming has stopped the further escalation in with what happened with County. So I think that's good in itself. It sounds to me like with what you've got at Dale, if you do go down, it's not all going to fall apart because you've still got a board and a structure which you're just going to need to think about how seriously think about how you sort of restructure and rebuild and take the club forward. So I think if you come down, you'd probably settle as opposed to plummet any more. But
I hope you're right. Bloody hell! I don't want to go to the National League North.
No.
Well, that's it. In the National League, there's always at least 2 teams who are just absolutely dire. So you're talking about the rest of the teams fighting over 2 relegation spots as opposed to 4. Because there's always just 2 teams who are they'll have financial trouble. Like Dover, they had the massive deduction last season because they gave up halfway through the COVID season, and it's just, if you can steer away from them last 2, because that's what happened with us. We finished in the last relegation spot, and normally Aldershot would have got kicked out because they went bankrupt halfway through the season. They went into administration, and the usual rule was that they'd take our relegation play. But that year, they obviously thought, well, we'll teach Stockport a lesson. National League North, off you go. But yeah, if you can kind of like you said, Mark, just bottoming out, innit? That's it. Just bottoming out, stabilise, get everything right off the pitch, ready for next season. That's what you need.
Yeah. I think to start putting expectations and pressure on people that is completely unfounded and unrealistic is just detrimental. It doesn't help anybody. You can't. There's already people calling for Sheridan's head and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, come on, just calm down, just get behind the team, and it's not like we have to fight the owners anymore. Like maybe everyone's just got used to being a bit aggressive and
a bit fighting.
Yeah, So anyway, should we just mention the fact that County put up a good performance against Leicester the other night?
Yeah,
how was that, Nick?
Yeah, good night. Apart from the day trippers in the football shirts of other teams, but yeah,
packed house, was it?
Packed house, full house. 10,301, which annoyed me. Just the one, which is really nice round number. But Brendan Rodgers said after the game, this is Brendan Rodgers who put 170 quid's worth of talent on the pitch. 70 million quid, and said, any Sunday League team could have done what Stockport did tonight, which does not say a lot for his abilities as a manager. But yeah, we just frustrated them. They had Tielemans on from the start. Soyuncu played, Iheanacho, Daka. They brought Maddison on with half an hour to go. Dewsbury Hall, Harvey Barnes, and they just couldn't. I don't think they had one cleared off the line late on, but they had 26 shots, and I think 22 of them were from outside the box. It was just, and then obviously penalties. Penalties are not a lottery, despite what people say. That's really annoyed me this week. But we lost out on the lottery of penalties. Well, it's not a lottery because you don't toss a coin and say, right, you've won. You have to take the penalties. But yeah, it's my first ever penalty shootout that I've seen in person. That was.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was exciting, and it's got me nice and warmed up for the World Cup. Going out.
Penalties are a competition between the two teams who have the best penalty takers, aren't they? That's what they are.
Yeah, we missed 3. All went the same way as well. It became very evident early on in the shootout that their keeper could only dive one way. And
sorry guys, I don't know if this big Rothwell announcement just made ground secured via club statement. So
Brilliant.
because this has obviously been ongoing. Let's just have a quick gander at that. Dead air's a crime. Someone keep talking.
What a lovely evening.
Oldham Athletic. There we are.
Very disappointed in the Leicester fans making no noise. Is it done? Is it happening? Oh, excellent.
The Rothwell family are proud to announce an agreement has been signed to secure the ownership of Boundary Park and the surrounding land. So Oldham Athletic is now one entity again. Thanks for sharing that with us, Chris. Fantastic. That's brilliant news. It really is. There's all people speculating about this, that, and the other.
That is massive.
It is massive. It's huge because now, we've drawn a line under a lot of history with that now. I'm actually feeling like a wave of relief coming through my body. Actually, just to know that that's done. So it just means that now that we'll be able to generate more money and hopefully just enjoy the next however many years in the National League with better match day experience and all that kind of stuff until we strike gold and get back out of it again. I think it's better to manage that expectation that way. I'm not expecting us to get out of the National League next season. If we do, it'd be brilliant, but I'm not expecting it. I'm going to keep an eye on everything like we always do, and it's football at the end of the day, isn't it? It's a funny old game and all that. It's like you can go all season like Wrexham did last season, destroyed the league really, and then losing the playoffs. So you can't do anything about that, can you? That's just the way it goes. And all the infrastructure and everything could be working brilliantly. Could be your best ever season. You could finish on 100 points in this league, still finish second, and still not go up, and everything be brilliant. So you have to take all those other positives out of it, don't you? As the things to focus on. So anyway, I think it's a good place to finish tonight on that good news about Oldham. I think we have to just say to Tom that hopefully things will turn around. I don't want to say, as much as it'd be nice to play you again next season, I think I'd prefer Rochdale to stay in the Football League. So good luck.
We're going to need it.
Have you got a game on Friday? Is that or Saturday?
Saturday, yeah, Crawley. Yeah. Crawley,
right, right,
big relegation 6-pointer.
Yeah, I hope you beat them. Nick, I hope you get your internet back soon, mate.
Virgin Media have just told me via email that it will be on by 11:45, which is good because I've got a radio show to record after this, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck with all that.
Oh, I'm going to die. I'm just going to go and drink heavily, I think.
Don't have too much iron brew.
Yeah, there's no such thing as too much iron brew.
It's made in Scotland by Girders. Right. Thanks very much for joining us, lads. Thanks for giving us the info on Dale there, Tom. And
pleasure.
Thanks. I nearly forgot to put the credits on there at the end. Thanks. I didn't do my transition. I've got a new transition. But I'm going to have to leave it because I can't just be frivolously using it when there's no transition.
Until next time.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting involved. Follow us on social media, rate us, and all that kind of stuff. Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.
The Greatest Manchester Football Podcast is a KUPOD production, available on all the usual podcast platforms every Friday morning from 7 a.m. Stay up to date with everything from the pod and all our contributors' content by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at GMFootPod. If you would like to get involved, or if there is a Greater Manchester Football Club you think we need to be talking about and we aren't, please get in touch there too. The title music is royalty-free music from Les FM. Visit lesfm.net for more information. Thanks for listening. See you next week.